Welcome to Roasting the World, where we offer an adversarial perspective on today's cultural issues. We do it for the intelligent culture. I'm your host, Keenan Robinson, and today's topic we will be discussing is Father's Day. I know that's, something that a lot of people try to take. I see a lot of mothers say, well, I'm the mother and the father because, the father may not be in the picture. So they say, Father's Day is for them. And I kind of get it on certain levels after having the discussion with some people, but I want to bring it to you to see kind of how you guys feel about Father's Day in general. Now, the only thing we have to compare that to is Mother's Day. And Mother's Day, we go all out for Mother's Day. I mean, we take restaurants, we renting out stuff, we doing all type of things for Mother's Day. But for Father's Day, it just seems like we kind of get the short end of the stick. We get maybe a tie, some socks, something of that nature, but nowhere near as celebrated as our mothers. Why is that is my question. Now, this is not just within the last, few years. This has been going on for quite some time. Now, something that a comedian said one time was that the only people that are loved unconditionally are, mothers, children, babies, maybe dogs, something of that nature. Why are we not in that conversation? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So, as a person that is a father and active in my kids' life and different things of that nature, I've had some really good Father's Days and gotten some good gifts. But, for some other people that, I can't speak for them and what they're doing or how people feel about them, because I think that how you're celebrated is a direct reflection of what you put in during the year, to the people around you that are supposed to care and love on you. So with that being said, is it that sometimes you're not getting good celebrated properly because you're not putting in the work? That's one of the questions. And then, or is it that you're putting in the work but just undervalued and underappreciated for what you do? Because if grandma and grandpa, work together for 50 years, he built the house or whatever, everybody's still gonna say that's grandma's house. and traditionally women live longer than men. So, the man might have worked himself into the ground, you know what I mean? So that his family could have a better life, like an unsung hero. And the mom or the woman knows that, or your grandma may know that this was a hard-working man, he was a good man and all those type of things, but he's just not here to deal with some of the things that mothers and grandmothers and those type of people deal with on the emotional level. So traditionally, when the kids got home, mom was there. And so that means that she would make sure that they got some food, that make sure that if anything happened during the day that she could take care of, she would take care of it, and she would kind of be a buffer between that and the dad. If dad had to get involved, it was pretty serious, or she had to threaten you with dad, like, hey, wait till your dad get home. You didn't want that. So I guess they traditionally are more loving and more likely to give you a little bit of slack. Because I know even with, I got two kids. With my son, his mom is kind of, nurturing to him. And I'm not going to say I'm not, but I also am harder on him. If I see him doing something, hey, I'm on his butt. If I hear him say something slick to her, I'm on his butt. Where, it may be more acceptable, or no, he didn't mean that or whatever. I'm cutting it off at the root immediately. So I've been called, a little bit of rigid, maybe mean a little bit sometimes. But I feel like for a young man in America, especially for a young black man in America, somebody got to be telling you what's going on and how to survive. And it's different for women. Sometimes women get into arguments and they can talk and argue and scream or whatever, and it doesn't become physical. Or if it does, it's not like a person thought they were going to lose their life. With men, if you become too emotional and you get to arguing and screaming, at some point, it's going to become physical. Because at some point, the talking is going to stop. So I have to prepare my son as a man to understand how he has to move out here. And there's some things that mama just can't tell the little boys. For example, I remember my Uncle Jay, shout out Uncle Jay, rest in peace. I was sitting behind him with my legs together, my knees poking in his back. He turned around and he said, hey, man, open your legs. This is how a young man's supposed to sit. Boys ain't supposed to sit with their legs closed. And I was like, all right, but nobody had ever told me that. Now, my mom was there, and she was raising us, but she was raised as a woman to keep your legs closed for the most part. So she didn't know that there's a difference, or nobody had ever taught her, because why would she know that? She never lived having to, be a young man. I remember recently having to teach my son how to, stand up and pee. And they're like, oh, kids sit down and pee for a long time. No, we're going to stand up and pee because that's what we're going to be doing. So let's go ahead and get you acclimated to being, like you're supposed to be. As far as being respectful to women and helpful and picking up heavy stuff and opening up doors and, just being who he's supposed to be as a young man. That's my job as a father, to teach him. And so that's what I've been doing. Now, take it off of my son. I got a daughter also. Now, she watches me to be able to see how a man is supposed to treat other women and her. Because if I'm out of pocket and I don't do the right things, then she's not going to know what it looks like when somebody's treating you the correct way, or have high expectations for the people around her. She needs some money, I got her. If she, we go somewhere, open the door for her. I'm not letting her pick up heavy stuff. I'm, not speaking to her a certain way, because that's not how men are supposed to interact with women. And if they are interacting that way and it's less than what your father is showing you or telling you it should be, run. Get away from those people, because they don't have your best interest in mind. And they're going to end up hurting you, whether it be emotionally, physically, psychologically, all of those things. So just make sure that, fathers, you prepare your young men how to grow up and navigate this world and move around and be able to survive as a man. Because it's important, because we're getting killed at a very high rate, whether it be from, inner city crime, neighborhood circumference types of crime, because people care who they're around, or, police interactions, or how they eat, not exercising, not taking care of yourself, just not having any motivation or drive, not having anybody to tell you to get up off your butt and do something. Those things are important. And as far as our young ladies, make sure that we're telling them, hey, this is how you're supposed to be treated. And showing them, even if you're not with their mom, but whoever that you interact with, that you're, trying to be in a relationship romantically with, they have to see you around that person, holding their hand, opening the door for them, being nice to them, and treating them a certain type of way, so that they can see the example of how they're supposed to be treated. If not, how they're going to know. And so those are a couple of the things that I think about when it comes to fathers, that just the importance of, having a father around. And so I grew up and I didn't have my father around. So I was kind of raised by the village, so to speak, where my uncles, my uncle's friends, my mom's boyfriends, or people around kind of showed me how to be a man. I remember, shout out Fred and Teresa, my godparents. They, actually definitely took me in, and, I took Taekwondo or Kempo or some type of fighting stuff, because these little dudes in the neighborhood was messing with me, and I used to just go off because I was very emotional. I didn't have a dad to, calm down, and my mom used to fight, so I'm like, this is the thing, we're going to fight. And, he said, talk and never shed blood, and to make sure that I'm in control of my emotions, and that kind of stuck with me. And then, shout out Uncle Rob, who taught us about respect as a man, and said, hey, if you disrespect his wife, you're going to be in more trouble than if you got in trouble at school. So, don't be disrespectful. Always show respect, because, looking at a man when you're shaking his hand, or, just carrying yourself in a way that you represent the rest of what's going on out here in the world for your family is important. Shout out to the McGrasses, because, I was there and I saw, how Uncle Edwin handled his business and how he moved. Shout out to Big Fish, Catfish, Daddy Fisher, because I remember me and Marvin, one of my brothers, we were young, man. We were about 15, 16. He was probably younger than that. And we went up to the skate center in Rivergate. And man, this dude came out, this black dude too. And he was like, y'all hoodlums can't come in here. And we was like, hoodlums? We ain't even doing nothing. We just came up here to go skating. So, he was being kind of aggressive, and we're kids. So, and he was grown. So we called, Marvin's dad, Pops, and he came up there and was like, asking what's going on. And dude made a move toward us in a kind of an aggressive way. And I'm telling you, that fatherly instinct jumped out of him, and he got him between us and reached for his, he was carrying something at the time. He was like, whoa, you might be tripping. You know what I'm saying? Get on away from my kids. And that made us feel protected. And I think that we need to make sure that we let fathers know that we do need their provisions and their protection and their wisdom and their guidance, because they are pivotal in making sure that our kids get to the next level. Also, in the house, you have a significant other. Now, I always learn stuff from, the person that I'm with, but they also learn things from me. So we do have value in a way that, is like, hey, you can learn things from me. We are important also. We're not just a paycheck. We're not just going out and going to work and bringing home the bacon and paying all the bills and different things of that nature. We also provide, emotional support, physical support, just a shoulder to lean on, somebody to talk to, and different things of that nature. So I think it's really important that we do celebrate fathers, just to let them know that we appreciate them, because, like birthdays, we only get one day a year, and if you don't do it then, when are you going to do it? And we got Juneteenth coming up, so shout out Juneteenth. Some of y'all don't know about that. Some of y'all don't know about, it's a new holiday, fairly new. Well, I've been celebrating it for multiple years. I used to perform, different things, African Street Fest for Juneteenth at Fort Negley and different stuff like that. But, nationally now it's recognized. We off work and all that stuff. So, do something nice for your dad. Take him out to dinner. Get him something that he actually wants, not just a tie. He might need a tie, but add something to that. He might need some socks, but add something to that. And then sometimes just talk to him about his life and things that are going on. I haven't seen my dad since I was about 14. And before that, I saw him when I was about 4 or 5. But I do talk to him. And I ask him questions like, hey, man, you're not around, but I do need your knowledge. Tell me about my family. Tell me about different things. And he told me that his dad, was a bus driver, made a good living, took care of his family and different things of that nature. And I was proud of that, because I didn't know that before. I didn't even know my dad's first name until about 2-3 years ago. I always thought, his first name was his middle name. So nobody told me because I didn't have a relationship with him. So I know what it's like not to have that void filled with masculine energy. That's why it's so important, if you do have kids, if you have little boys or little girls, be around. Even if you don't get along with their other side of the family, with their mom or their grandmama or whoever, grandfather, they don't like you, I don't care about that. Have a relationship with your children, because it's super important that they know that they have somebody out there that's going to love them unconditionally and that got their back. Just being able to call you, they might not even need anything. They might not even need no money. They might not need, you to pick them up or something like that. They just might need some advice. Hey, man, this girl keep looking at me. I think I like her. Or, hey, Dad, this boy keep, saying stuff to me. This how I feel about it. And you get to tell them what's up. Or you can pull up. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the best things you could do is pull up when your kid needs you to pull up. They're going to remember that more so than the child support and the Jordans and, all the monetary things that you can bring to the table. Is actually you being right there. Them sitting next to you looking at you. I remember my son, just paying attention. They study us. And I laughed at something was on TV or something. I was like, ha, ha, ha. And he looked at me and he said, ha, ha, ha. And I was like, oh, man, look at this little dude just mimicking me, looking at, me. So I know that we're important. We're needed. So just continue to, for the dads out there that are doing what they need to do, continue to do what you're doing and maybe step it up another level. Have a goal in mind to specifically do those things. As far as, some of my friends, that are locked up or not around their kids as much or whatever their reasons are. Hey, man, it's never too late. Kids are resilient. They love you anyway. Just show up, pull up, call them, tell them you love them, things like that, because they need that. And when you get an opportunity, just just really appreciate the fathers out here because it is a very unsung, undervalued, underappreciated. Everybody feels like they can do our job even though they can't. It's a difficult job to be there because we don't get the accolades as, you know, the other side of it. And, you know, sometimes, you know, actually, I think I heard somebody say, out of all the holidays, let's say there's 100 holidays, I think Father's Day is like number 26. Like Arbor Day, Columbus Day, like all these other days are more important than Father's Day. And I'm like, how did that happen? Like, what's going on? How do we get devalued so much? You know, and it's not just for black fathers. This is fathers in general. So, you know, it can't be like, oh, because they, you know, whatever the statistics say, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I just feel like we just need to celebrate our dads. You know, it's very important that we give them their flowers while they're here because they won't always be here too. And like I said, traditionally, you know, men die before women. So we need to have our butts out here, you know, grinding, but also we need to feel celebrated and loved. And sometimes we need a hug or a kind word or some things like that. So I just came on to do an exclusive, you know, Father's Day show. And, you know, as always, we want to say stay ready so you don't got to get ready. And stay tuned for another exciting episode of Roasting the World. And look for the films coming out, Peacemakers 2. That should be out on Tubi. Look for The Frozen Hearts in January 2024. That should be out on all the major platforms also. And we're actually in the process of filming a new film called The Toxic King. So you guys watch out for that probably in the next year and a half. And we should have that popping too. So God bless you and peace.